Welcome back to the Tears of Fire podcast, a podcast where I go over the Last Dragon Chronicles by Chris DeLacy, and today is a special edition late night with my first guest returning for her third visit, Miss Kaylee. Would you like to say hi?
Hi.
All right, and today we're going to be reviewing Book 3, Firestar. As you guys already know, we've gone through the chapters ourselves, and so we're going to do a little bit of review. At the end, we'll get into predictions/wants and see where the series is going to go on from here. With that being said, let's get into the show. I hope you had a safe flight in and hit no turbulence. This book started out pretty fast. I feel like it got kind of slow in the middle there, and then the last like 6 chapters was just bang, 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 bang.
That was ridiculous.
I kind of compared it to, I'm not sure if you guys had ever read the Lord of the Rings series at all, but those tend to jump around points of view a ton, and I feel like those last couple of chapters in this one did the exact same between all the last ones.
Yeah, I feel like it was necessary for this book too, because you kind of start to get a little bit like bored with the same point of view, and so the jumping around was actually kind of nice because it kept me wanting to keep reading and kept me entertained.
Yes.
Not that it wasn't good or anything, but...
Well, this is the biggest book of the series that we've read. We've jumped from 300 pages to just over 500, so it's a pretty sizable difference. So let's get into it. We start out with David and Xana going up to the Arctic on their research trip, and they get into kind of a little fight. Well, not a little fight. They end up breaking up through it. And it was over David's story that he was writing, because he was writing about Gwilana and some dangerous circumstances. And we know that from the last 2 books, David has the ability to maybe not necessarily write the future, but write the happenings that are going on right now. And his abilities seem to be gaining momentum through this book as well. So what did you think about that whole interaction when they were in the Arctic?
It really irritated me, because I felt like it was really unfair, because she knows that's what he does. That's his thing, and if he felt inclined to write about it, I would be more curious as to... I would just want to know why. Like, why are you feeling like this is the direction this is going? Like, less than I'd be mad. I might be a little upset, absolutely, but not at him, just at the situation. And I would try to use it to our advantage instead of being mad at him. Okay,
so that's exactly what was one of my first thoughts in there. If you're going to write about this period and you know that you have the ability to affect the happenings of the future, why not write the death of Gwilana? Why not write the way that these bears are going to help you instead of come and harm you and this supposed loved one in order to take this talisman? That was crazy to me.
Well, and I feel like it's weird that for one, she didn't even address any of that, like wondering why. But also, I think it was a great opportunity for them to write more about, and for her to ask him, which then could have been written and we could all read about why he feels like he writes the things he does, because he never even gets a chance to say, maybe, hey, this is just like this, I just feel it, and this is what I'm supposed to write. I don't know how else to explain it to you. Because if I were her and I heard that, I would think, okay, this might be like out of his control, kind of. But if, it came out that he was like, well, I feel like I can dictate the future with this, then that gives her the opportunity to be, then why the hell are you writing about Gwilana, you freaking dork?
Yeah, and to me, I thought Gwilana was going to be a much bigger part of this book. And I mean,
she really wasn't in it much.
No, she obviously had the part where she kidnapped Lucy, and that's kind of what kicked off this whole story when David was in the Arctic after the big fight. Liz had called him saying, hey, you need to come home because something's going on. And we got that scene where Lucy thought she heard something over at Bacon's house. She went to go investigate, and it was Auntie Gwyneth, or Gwilana, and she was using Snigger as the bait and switch and able to captivate Lucy to come and talk to her and keep her quiet. And then they just disappear into thin air, almost like transportation is what I got, a rift through time and space.
Yeah.
I'm not sure Was that the first time that we saw Guilana use an ability like that?
So she sort of used it in the room that Liz was birthing the dragon or whatever. I guess that's the best word to use. But she sort of used it in that room to try to, like, sort of like sucking everything out. But I don't think we understood what it was at all, and it wasn't explained very much. But I think that could have been the same thing. It seemed like similar to me, like the energy and everything, but it wasn't described to us, so it could maybe be that.
Yeah, for some reason in the first book, or not the first book, in Icefire, the second one, I got the vibe that Guilana obviously had some supernatural abilities, but I didn't get I didn't at all feel like she had the ability or the strength to rip holes through time and space. That was a surprise to me.
I had a feeling she could do something like that, just considering how long she's been around, and I mean her ability to survive and adapt this long obviously has to have some kind of crazy power with it.
Yeah. So, pretty much right after we get the scene with David and Xana kind of going through the breakup, and then there was also the event with the polar bear at the town when they were getting attacked in the truck. How did you feel about the Inuit village with Tega and how they were feeling towards nature itself and what was going on there that way?
I sort of had an issue with the way that Xana treated Totega. I feel like that was it almost felt like racially charged a little bit, which I thought was odd for this book. I didn't expect a theme like that. But obviously later on you kind of understand it's almost more of a tough love she's giving him weirdly, but I don't think that she goes about it in a very good way at all. Yeah, their dynamic was very uncomfortable, which I think was the point. But it's unfortunate we didn't get to see too much of David there.
I feel like we didn't get much interaction of Xana with the tribe or David with the tribe, period, which kind of weirded me out because it seems, I don't want to get too far ahead of ourselves, but towards the end there, it seems like Xana came back with just an exponential growth in her powers.
Yeah, out of nowhere.
Yeah, we didn't see it.
Yeah.
But so one thing that I did want to talk about was the bear aspect of all this. We got a lot more lore on there. We got how Thorin, or was it Thorin? Is that his name? The original bear came to be transferred from what I gathered to be a grizzly bear. He said it was a brown bear, big, great brown bear. And then after Gwaine had shed his tear, he was able to be transformed and was the protector of Guinevere. And then after Guinevere disappeared, then Gwendolyn. So with the whole story now that Gwendolyn left Guilana on her own choices and decided to live amongst the Inuit tribes, how did you feel about that?
That definitely explained a lot of things about Xana, I think, which was good, because I think a lot has been left up to just her weird interactions with people for us to try to understand who she is. And I think there's a lot of unfairness there for her character of, like, she acts really weirdly towards people, and it's like you never really get an understanding of why, but understanding her background a little bit, it's like, okay, that makes sense why she just feels so confident there.
Yes. That brought questions to me, like, what in your mind is the relationship between Liz and Xana? Because Liz is supposed to be the descendant of Guinevere. Xana is supposed to be the descendant of Gwendolyn. But from the story and what I gathered, obviously Guilana created Gwendolyn, but it was for Guinevere. It was supposed to be Guinevere's daughter. So are they related in any way, or are those, how did you interpret that?
I mean, I think technically, yes, they would be related, but I think the dynamic that, I mean, you see this a lot with, like, pitting women against each other, right? Like, they want the dynamic to be that, well, I'm the descendant of this one, so I think we should go this way. Well, I'm the descendant of this one, so we should do it this way. But I think instead, the two of them being who they are have tried to make almost like a sister kind of relationship between the two of them. And I think that's what it could definitely develop into. And I like that, because I think, them being from two different descendants that are related but very different, and especially different in the ways that they want to see the world work, I think could easily be, and I think that Guana was hoping that the two of them would butt heads instead of rise up against her, which I think is what we're set up to hopefully have happen.
Which is interesting because they do have very, I would say, different points of views, but like you said, they're oriented towards the same goal.
Yeah.
So that would be cool. One thing I do want to pick your brain about, because we've had several conversations not on the pod and just about our own creative endeavors on trying to write. We've spoken a lot about male authors writing women. Mm-hmm. And now that in this point of the story, we have Lucy, we have Xana, we have Liz, a lot of our main characters are women. Mm-hmm. How do you feel Chris does with this?
He does a surprisingly good job. I tend to be shocked when I'm reading about a woman and I can't initially tell that it's a man writing about them, because usually you can. He does a pretty good job. I think his one shortcoming with writing about women is he seems to have a hard time connecting with why women make the choices they make. He does have a little bit of a problem with centering too many things on men. You know, women's entire lives do not revolve around a man. And he does tend to write all of them revolving around a man in some aspect or another. Xana revolves around David. Liz and Lucy revolve around David. Arthur a little bit.
I was just going to bring
Gawain
that up.
Just in general. And while that's a very different dynamic, it's still relevant. And so I think that's the one thing he struggles with, is allowing their identity to be completely separate from any man in the story.
I completely agree. I haven't been able to pick too much into it just because I am a man myself, so I can't have the same perspective. But one thing that I would like to see more going into the future, or if we could rewrite this or edit it, I would want some more inner dialogue from those characters, because I feel like we don't hear what's going on in their heads at all. We just get the action.
Yeah, I agree.
All right, so another thing I want to talk about is we kind of left off book 2 with Gretel being a little mischievous. She was standing over Grockle with a lock of Liz's hair, and they started freaking out, but then the book kind of just left us on a cliffhanger. Didn't explain what happened after that. And we open up book 3 with Gretel being pretty much imprisoned. They have a little cage with her in there. And then we get that, I think his name was Groin, is what I've been calling him, is this dragon / talisman from Bergstrom, and he goes through, he has the ability to turn invisible and releases Gretel. And from what I've gotten from Gretel, again, I want to reiterate this from the last episode, I don't get malicious intentions from her, but I do feel like she's just an agent of chaos. You don't know what she's going to do. She's just there for the rise of the dragons.
I think she's a good dragon to have connected with Xana for that reason, because she doesn't always necessarily just do whatever Liz wants like the other dragons will do. She does what she believes is best, and so she's got kind of a little fiery spirit, and I that is one thing I appreciate, that dragon is a female dragon. I do appreciate that, because I think it's accurate. I think it's accurate that the dragon doing those things would be a female.
Yeah. I also, I can't remember if, because we know that Groin also took away Gadzooks's utensils. For a majority of the book, he was not able to give David that inspiration. Are you able to remember if David wrote this book without the help of Gadzooks, or did he start writing it heavy once Gadzooks got his utensils back, or did he just finish
My
it?
understanding was most of the beginning was written with Gadzooks, and then I think, because they deleted the book.
Right.
You know, and I think he wouldn't have really been able to keep writing anyway. At least not, we obviously know that Gadzooks' connection with kind of that other realm is why he's able to help facilitate David's writing to sort of almost predict the future / know the things that he shouldn't be able to know.
Yeah.
And so, I don't think he would have been as accurate without Gadzooks, that's for sure. But David obviously has his own abilities.
And I'm wondering where he got them, because we do come into later into the book, Graith. He's shot into another dimension on basis of the wish to find out what happened to Gwen's tear further, and he meets a being called the Fane. And they're this, from what I gathered, more of a mental being that's able to maneuver through out physical space without a physical form and infiltrate your mind, but is able to maybe not necessarily give you abilities, but maybe harness them if you have them. And so we see that there was a young Fane that was brought into the world first in order to help bring about the coming of dragons again. How did you feel about that in the supernatural kind of other world?
I was excited at first and then sort of disappointed, I think. I was excited because I was hoping that the Fane, I mean the Fane that was originally brought in was really not malevolent at all. Like, it didn't seem to have evil intentions. And then obviously the Fane we meet later very much does. And so I was kind of excited that they would maybe be almost like a soul society kind of a thing, like a higher, like, like if humans could reach, this like highest point of enlightenment and then, move on to another plane, that I was kind of hoping that was what the Fane were going to be, kind of like ultra enlightened human souls or dragon souls, but that doesn't seem to be the case.
Yeah, I'm not sure, because I wanted to think that since they were from this, again, mental dimension is what I'm going to call it, that they would almost be a hive mind. But if this one is acting on its own intentions, it doesn't really feel that way anymore towards the end.
Yeah, it's a little confusing. I mean, I'm hoping the other books get into that.
I'm sure they do. Really, the ending of this book made me realize that I remember a lot than I thought that I did.
That's
so
fair.
It was kind of crazy. So moving on, we come to the interaction between the Fane with Bergstrom as well. And to me, this was kind of crazy. I wasn't sure if Bergstrom was Laurel, the storyteller bear, or if he was Thorn, the old man bear that was coming back and being kind of the spirit of them. From what I gathered is after the attack from the old Fane on Bergstrom in the middle of that road, and then Thorn didn't end up showing up in the final battle, to me that means he's Thorn, right? Did you have any thoughts on that?
I had a feeling. I do think they've kind of still left it up to
interpretation
a little bit. I mean, yeah, it's still not totally clear. Yeah, Bergstrom's involvement in all of this is very confusing to me.
Why, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
because he does things that seemingly sabotage our main characters, but then he also comes to save them and, also all these other things. Like, why did he take away the tools?
Right, and the reason they give is David was getting too close too early, but wouldn't that be a good thing?
Isn't that what you want?
Yeah, if we're trying to stop Guilana, and that's what David is attempting to write towards, and stop the bringing about of the dragons, because they believe that if the dragons are brought back, they're going to melt the ice caps and destroy the world as we know it. So it's not that Bergstrom hates dragons, it's that he doesn't want to see the world, unlivable for us humankind. But that also brings up another thing, is to me that was a big plot hole. Bergstrom disappeared, wasn't part of the main conflict. Why was he even a part of the story if that's what they're going to do? But then they did the same thing to Guilana.
Yeah.
When the Fane went and talked to her, the older one, the evil one, it says that if I'm remembering right, she turns into crow form. She's flying away. He freezes her, and then in bird form still, and then she's put into a block of ice.
Yeah.
And then not even relevant for the last third of the book.
Nope.
And we find that after she brought Lucy to this cave to be kidnapped and to be trained on what to do for Gwen, Lucy's then taken under protection of this mama bear from from the polar bears. How did you feel about that, and how Lucy kind of learned the history of Gwendolyn?
I loved that. I thought that part was so cool. Just the fact that she found her, sort of tomb, you could call it, and that they essentially repeated it, but obviously without them dying, which was nice.
It's kind of a big step.
But yeah, but I thought that was like, I thought that was really beautiful, that whole concept, because I mean, Lucy's away from her mother, she's young, that's scary, and then to have a mother bear who thought she was on her last leg, was ready to die, and then realized she had to take care of one more cub. I thought that was really pretty.
I thought Lucy was going to have a lot bigger of a part to be in the final battle, because she finds the isosceles. Mm-hmm. She's learning this history that seems to be forgotten for, near 900 years, something that Liz never knew, mm-hmm.
That
whole lineage. And so this also made me believe that Lucy is going to be one of the most powerful dragon creators, dragon molders.
I have a feeling she's going to have Liz and Xana both in her, like some powers from both Sybil and, Dragon. I kind of think she's going to have a little bit of both, because her connection now, the way that they're lining her up with Gwendolyn, is you can't do that and then not give her some cool powers
right.
with it, So I'm hoping we get to see that.
Okay, another big part that I haven't mentioned once yet is obviously the resurrection of Grockle himself, mm-hmm. which seems to be a pretty big deal. Obviously, there's a real dragon in the world, and after a big, huge fire at the Farlowe Island, what was it called? The monastery? Is that mm-hmm. what it would be? Mm-hmm. There's a big fire, and that seems to give enough energy to put fire back in his chest, and he's able to breathe again.
Yeah.
What did you get from that?
My thinking is it had to be the fact that he had the claw on him now. Gawain's claw. That's the only way, because there's no... It would make... That would be a huge plot hole otherwise, of how suddenly he has fire.
Right.
So it had to be because the claw, like just like the tooth with the bear, the claw like formed with him and basically became part of his body. So my thinking is that that's where he got the ability to have the fire now.
Okay. So that also brings me to think, because I kind of forgot about the claw, which is a crazy thing to forget about. But I always had questions when I was reading this book about Arthur. Mm-hmm. How did Arthur get the same ability that David had?
Yeah.
Especially just by touching this claw. So
that can't be enough.
If that's how it was, then how did David get the abilities, period? Because mm-hmm. he didn't come into contact with anything until
That's why I think
Liz.
they have to be connected in some way as well. Like they're they're just, like Lucy and like Lucy and Liz are a distant, so they are of something else as well. Yeah. And like maybe they're connected more with the bear side of things or something. I don't know, but they have to have some sort of connection.
Yeah, I did think it was a pretty epic scene. I felt bad for the way that the dragon was treated, especially by monks, people who were supposed to be so devout. But obviously the way they were thinking about it, they were thinking he's a demon or an evil being. So in today's world, I could see us reacting the same way.
Absolutely. I was going to say, I do think that's that's exactly what we experience all the time, is people who think that they are holier than thou, and they think that they know the way, and that, their belief is the right belief, and as soon as something challenges it, they, instead of embracing it and questioning and learning and opening their minds, instead it's, well, that must be from the devil, that must be evil. And shutting it away instead of embracing it and trying to understand maybe how this either enhances your faith or changes it. And there's nothing wrong with that, but a lot of people are really afraid of that. And so I do think it was a good, honest reflection of what really does happen with religions a lot of times.
Yeah, which is sad, because another realistic thing that I saw, now that you say that too, and thinking about it, is that the only person to interact with them besides Arthur was Brother Bernard. Mm-hmm. And once Brother Bernard started speaking to him in the old northern language that he had learned throughout his own mm-hmm. studies, he could see that this was a more intelligent creature than mm-hmm. just like a squirrel would be.
Yeah.
So to me, that was realistic. And once you start learning, and I guess you're always scared of what you don't know. Yeah. And so once you start putting in that time and effort, Brother Bernard was one of my favorite characters, really, even though we didn't get to spend much time with him.
He was a very good, realistic character.
One of the few that would actually give some thoughts, I hated Abbott Hugo. Did not like him.
I
He was a
know.
punk. Didn't give any thought to it. But so I was also kind of surprised with the role of Snigger because I do not remember
Yeah.
him being in these books because he's been in 1, 2, and 3. I definitely remember book 1 because it was all about Conquer and Snigger, right? It was the squirrels. I always thought it was weird reading these books how these are supposed to be about dragons and the first book is all about squirrels. Threw me off. I always have to tell people just get past the first book. I swear. But now that he's becoming a bigger part of it, I'm not sure. Oh, I'm kind of jumping around here. I'm not sure if Arthur was controlling Snigger through writing with the claw, or if Snigger just had that connection to Arthur because of Arthur powers. I don't. What did you think about that?
Yeah, I'm not really sure about that. I mean, he's definitely got some kind of reach. You know, he's got some kind of power that's able to connect with other creatures. There's just something about him that just connects in general, I think, with nature. And I don't know where that comes from, obviously, but something there.
Okay, so then another big journey that we went through is with Ingvar the bear. Mm-hmm. How do you say his name? How did you say
Ingvar?
Ingvar. Okay,
yeah.
That's what I've been saying too. I wasn't quite sure because when I read the notes and everything on this podcast, it pronounces it different, but that's AI, so like who knows?
They don't know.
But so Ingvar comes through, and like you were saying earlier with Grockle and the claw, he gets the tooth that magically goes back into his own mouth and kind of embeds itself in his jaw, and he then gets the strength and wisdom of his old ancestor and the knowledge that he needs to take all these bears to the north. And then right around that time is when everything's starting to congregate to the Arctic. And then there comes the big climax. There's a pretty big fight between everyone. Grockle's meeting there. He's trying to find his father, air quotations, Gwaine, because he's now got I don't think he has the isosceles yet, right? But he's got the claw. He knows that he needs to go there. The portal is opening up, and the Fain are trying to bring him back, or the older Fain is trying to kill him. And we get Xana showing up with Tega. Mm-hmm. David completely showing up on his own, which I was kind of confused because they didn't show us. They just said that him and Arthur sat there, compared notes, and then were able to teleport.
Yeah, that was really... That was just so quick and rushed. It's like you could have written a couple pages.
Yeah, that felt to me very like Deus Ex Machina. Is that how you say it? Or it's that trope where it's just a saving grace out of nowhere just to write it.
Yeah, we just need this to happen.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's gonna
Don't think about it too hard. This is how it goes. But so everybody shows up, and we get Ingvar there. And we get the death of a lot of people. Mm-hmm. Sadly, I did not like the way that Tega went out. He was controlled by the Fain, and really, to me, he had been there just kind of doing his job. He wanted to go home to his village to see his family. We got a quick interaction with that in his village leader / grandpa. And then, he wanted to go... said mush the dogs, but go dog sledding and just kind of be kept out of it. But then it seemed like Xana strong-armed him to go back. And then he lost his life because of it, man. Yeah. To go drown in the ocean with his dogs.
That whole thing with the Fain taking over people was confusing as well, because I didn't understand how the Fain, when it took over most people, they died afterward. But for some reason, Henry didn't die?
Well, I mean, he was put in the hospital and
but he didn't die, though. Everybody else did. I'm like, that seems convenient.
Yeah, I do. I would say, I mean, it is very convenient, but I can give them a little bit of lenience just because Bacon has already had a little bit of connection to Bergstrom, was it his grandfather that wrote a researching, and he had a little bit of connection to it, so maybe
could be that he had some sort of knowledge on maybe how to keep himself from being totally taken over or something.
Yeah, or maybe there's some small remnant of that dragon magic in him that we don't know about, but to me it's very...
Well, because David was able to, thanks to Gretel's help, was able to not allow the Fain to read his thoughts, and so possibly, he knows something too as well of how to protect a little part of him.
Yeah. Actually, that's why I think, like I said, Gretel is just a an agent of chaos because
Yeah.
she was a homie. She didn't tell David anything, and she seemed to leave with the Fane like she was on the Fane's side. She completely left the household, was willing to show him when he was taking over Bacon how to get there and where David was going. But we saw at the last second that she was true to, well, I'll say true to Xana, because she is
Yeah.
Xana's dragon now.
Well, and Liz was so smart in that too, in accusing Gretel of being a liar in front of the Fane because.
Oh, do you think Liz did that on
Oh,
purpose?
I think so. I mean, she's too smart. I don't think that she would have. I don't think she truly thought that Gretel was about to betray them. I think she was hoping that Gretel was about to be on their side and that that's what was going to happen, and so she said that to make it seems more plausible now for the Fane to be like, well, if she doesn't want her to come with me, then I definitely want her to come with me.
Interesting, because I took that at, like, if it was me in that position, I would have been highly emotional. No, fuck you, Gretel, get out of here. You know? Like, I don't want you here anyway.
Yeah, no, I think that she was smart enough in that moment to know that if they sounded like she didn't want Gretel to go and that Gretel's a betrayer, then the Fane would be like, well, then yeah, I definitely need her with me.
Yeah. So after the death of Tega, we got the death of Ingvar as well. We see that Grockle is absolutely distraught after the island is sank completely into the ocean. And obviously Gwen's gone, so there's no resurrecting him anymore. And he comes down and just absolutely, what'd you say, like flamethrower, just flames Ingvar into ash. You see him turn from white to black and then to nothing. That surprised me because that was in the middle of the finale. What were your first thoughts when that happened?
Honestly, I couldn't even keep up at that point. So much was happening, and I mean, when it got to that point, I sort of was just like, okay, yeah, sure. Like, I wasn't even really shocked. I was more disappointed because I was hoping that he would do something cooler before he went out. But I think, I mean, it is at least realistic. I mean, not everyone gets to go out in a cool...
Right, and there's not much you can do against a dragon that can fly and breathe fire. So yeah, no, it was super realistic. And I think it was actually after that is when Tega is taken over by the Fane. He tries to shoot him, fails, and then the Fane leaves him and tries to go into David. And then we got that weird... I didn't like the way that David went out either. They sacrificed David and he just took 2 icicles to the chest.
I know.
And then wasn't even any good one-liners. Just like, oh, you will die beforehand. But then we see that as David is, I would say, distracting the Fane, waiting for whatever was happening with Ingvar to happen, because we get the spirit of Ingvar that came through, and the spirit claw clawed out the Fane from the... Was it the monk, or who was he? Was it Tega? Who was he in at that point?
I don't even
Brother
remember.
Darius? Or...
I think so.
Yeah, so we get... No, because I think... Didn't Brother...
No, he didn't even go there.
Yeah, I was going to say, Brother Bernard pretty much killed Darius
Yeah.
on the island. But so, yeah, to me, that was strange. I don't know why we had to get that form of death with David essentially sacrificing himself, and then for our main character for the past 3 books to just be murked with no payoff. We didn't really get anything out of it either.
Yeah. Yeah, that whole thing was really disappointing. I was really upset that David died, and I mean, they hint of, that his spirit or something is gonna somehow live on.
Yeah, they did some weird ritual with the bears where there was 4 of them that sat on all 4 cardinal directions between David and Ingvar's spirit. So I don't know, like, is to me, and again, the end of this book made me realize I don't remember this series at all. But do you think David might become something like Bergstrom was?
That's exactly what I thought. That's exactly what I wrote down. I was thinking that had to be it, because it's genuinely unfair to take him at this point in the series. That's just genuinely unfair. I thought there has to be something, someone did something. I mean, the fact that he said he was pierced by, you know, the ice fire, you know,
yes.
like he was pierced by that. So he he literally had a line where he said something about, like, this isn't going to kill me to the Fane, basically. And then it did.
Yeah.
So I'm like, he had to have, I don't think he just said that to say that to the Fane. I think he said that because he really knew that he was going to come back somehow, or he was going to be present still, just maybe not in the way that we expect.
Well, it's interesting, because during that time when the Fane was distracted by David and being killed, we get Xana yelling at Grockle to go into the portal. Mm-hmm. And he does. He gets into the Fane world. I was unclear on if we still have the young Fane in our household, because it says that he got locked into Bonington, but nothing after that. And we know that the old Fane is dead, and if there's two different ideologies clashing back over there, how's Grockle himself going to fare solo? Can the Fane take over dragons? I thought they just revered them because they were these big magical beasts, but if they can control dragons like they can control everyone else, it seems, I feel like it's fucked up to send Grockle there alone. Yeah,
I have a feeling they probably can't. Otherwise, yeah, it really doesn't make sense to send him. What's the point?
Yeah, I mean, they revered him back in the olden days.
But I don't know. I don't know if the other Fane is still with us or not, because even at the end, it's confusing. I mean, Bonington is sometimes a tiger.
Yeah, with saber teeth or something.
Yeah, he's sometimes a saber-toothed tiger. And so I don't know if that's when the Fane is taking over that he's a tiger, or if that's sort of like a leftover from when the Fane left his body, that it sort of like gave him a gift, kind of, as like a parting gift, like, thanks for letting me borrow you, kind of thing. But I do think there's got to be some connection, because I just think that it would be cruel to write this line and then not bring it back. But when the Wishing Dragon originally comes back with that Fane. Nicer Fane part of him, one of the lines it says is, he's trying to follow his dreams. He's trying to, that's like his whole thing. He's trying to, he's a Wishing Dragon, right? So he wants to make wishes come true, right? Like, that's his thing. It says, when a being looks into the mirror of his dreams, something in the mirror is always looking back. And I just thought, you can't write that line and then not have it be significant. I mean, that's such a, poetic and also, sort of hinting at the future, That's
kind of gives me a little bit of chills just thinking about this afterwards, because now that I've had 2 weeks to digest the book a little bit, I've also just been on my own listening to my own podcasts of my own special interest, but I was listening to one that wasn't necessarily paranormal, but just people that believe or had experiences with otherworldly beings, and there's a very big I would say belief/understanding that mirrors themselves have powers too, where it could be a portal or a gateway into other dimensions.
Mirrors in a lot of different cultures from a lot of different time periods have been gateways to other realms, like a conduit for something supernatural. They definitely have. One that I think is familiar to a lot of people in America, at least, is Bloody Mary, right?
Yeah.
You say that in the mirror and she'll come, and that kind of thing. And I remember somebody telling me that they believe that you can, if you stare into a mirror long enough, you can pass into an alternate reality, things like that. And they're also used for scrying, which is divination and intuition and trying to figure things out, ways to see into the past and the future and things like that. So I'm hoping there's some, in my mind, I see then the Fane or that realm as the mirror.
Ooh.
Is kind of where my mind is going. And hopefully, ideally, not all Fane are like this evil one.
Yeah.
And more of them, maybe they all kind of have their own ideas of what they want. And so I think that Gareth kind of ended up finding the Fane that fit him.
The right one.
Yeah. He found one that fit him well and fit the situation and what he needed. And so I'm sort of hoping that, something in the mirror is always looking back. It's that finding the thing that you need to find in the mirror.
Which would make sense, because they do say that wishing dragons are more connected to the universe itself and the flowing. So if you're finding your counterpart into another dimension, here's a question. Do you think that dimensions are still part of our universe, or does that take you to a separate universe? Because to me, the universe means everything encapsulated. So even within our universe, there are just different dimensions that we would have to.
Yeah, I mean, I think you could decide to explain it in a different way, but I think realistically, the universe is the whole.
Yes.
And then alternate versions of that universe are still in the whole universe.
So then, with that, I could see why, and I would like to believe that the Fane would be what you're saying, the higher beings that just got elevated throughout time.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to think, is that they were just like hyper enlightened like beings, but to have one be evil kind of makes you either you have to reevaluate what good and evil actually is and decide, is it actually okay to waste living beings for an ultimate goal or not. So you either have to rewrite what's good and evil to you, or you have to believe that they can't be enlightened. They just have to be sort of a different realm.
One thing that's confusing to me too, now that I'm thinking about it, it's because the little Fane came back, but realistically, the older Fane said that he didn't want the dragon to return. So if they just didn't come through the portal and open it up, there would have been no way for the dragons to return. So that gets me a little bit confused. But moving on, we get kind of a banger towards the end, where it's the prologue. Arthur's finally back with Liz and Lucy. He's lost his sight, or maybe majority of his sight. It was kind of unclear on that. He's got a lot of lasting damage from when the Fane came and fucked him up. But then Brother Bernard comes to visit them and gives them Snigger back. And the whole group, Xana, Liz, Lucy, Arthur, go to release Snigger. And we get kind of an emotional release. I didn't get too emotional. Like, the first book got me hard with the death of Conquer. I was going through a lot with the death of my dog, too. Yeah. So, kind of coincided pretty nice. But this one would be more of a happy release, I would say, with the revelation, with the reveal of Xana having David's child.
Yeah.
How did you feel about that?
It's a theme in the books, so it's not like I can't say like that just felt so random or added, because it is a theme in the book, right? Like having children, passing on legacy, like that's a thing. I think my issue is that I feel like we haven't gotten enough of Xana. And now all of a sudden we have to get to know Xana with a baby?
See, and that's what I was going to say, with all the plot holes, too, between Guilana and Bergstrom. And I know I mentioned it a little bit before, but we got some interaction with Xana going into the Inuit tribe and spending some time there, but we didn't see any of her learning. It says that she talked to the grandpa and learned some of their ways, but we didn't see any of it.
Right.
And she had exponential growth in her magical abilities.
Yeah,
so
some crazy things happen.
I want to know, even if we get some flashbacks in the next book, it would be nice to see exactly what that process was. Was that her praying the old Inuit prayers? Do the Inuit people have actual magic that they go through? Because Bergstrom has talismans, and that is magic in and of itself, and he says that that's part of the Inuit beliefs. But I would like to see some interaction more than just they talked.
Yeah, I would really like to know more about what she went through to become as progressed as she did in such a short period of time. But yeah, I just feel like we're missing so much from Xana because we got left out of all that, and we also never really get to understand what she's thinking. We're just sort of left to try to figure it out. And I think that's also why I was frustrated with her, with it ending with her being pregnant with David's child, because again, David is gone. This could be a moment for Xana to be Xana, for the books to be about Xana, for something, for her to have a moment, and it has to again be overshadowed by the fact that she's having a man's child. Like it was just disappointing, and I'm sure that it could turn into something really cool that I get really excited about, you know, when I read the next books and stuff, but I was just, while I was very upset about David dying, I did think, okay, this is an opportunity for this to now be about our women. And that's cool. That can be fun. That could be exciting. And then, oh, I'm having David's child. Okay, yeah. Well, now it's about David again.
Yeah, because, I mean, most of our men are taken out. The only surviving one really is Arthur, and he's not, I would say, abled.
Right, anymore. Yeah. Arthur is, like, very changed. Bergstrom is MIA.
See, that's what I didn't understand either, because it just says that he disappeared. So I don't know if he died or if he just...
I don't think he died,
went into
but...
the ether.
Well, and that's why I'm hoping, again, like I said earlier, I'm hoping, you know, maybe David's going to come back as, like, Bergstrom, like we were talking about, something similar to him. So maybe he disappeared to kind of meet David somewhere and you know, help him learn how to do what he does or something. I don't know. That would just be cool.
Okay, well, that pretty much brings the end of what I wanted to talk about. So before we get into the closing statements, Kaylee, did I miss anything? Do you have any notes that you would like to talk about or bring up?
I don't think so. I think we kind of got to everything. I did love, I know we were talking about, Bernard is such a, like, I wrote in my notes, not the hero we wanted, but the hero we needed. Because I felt like his moments of coming around, because he was so real. Like, of course you're gonna think that dude is freaking nuts. Right. Like, if I heard Arthur talking about what he's talking about, I would also think this guy has lost it. But he was so willing to hear him out anyway and to believe that he wasn't crazy, so he tried. And I love that he was willing to do that and then to end up, you know, whacking the guy, you know, the Fane over the head and trying to fight for, you know, our people was so great. Like, he deserves some recognition. He was a good character.
He was a quick favorite for me as well. One thing now that I'm thinking about too is I don't think we ever got what the plan was for, like, if Brother Darius never got taken over by the Fane. Mm-hmm. What was their plan for the dragon? Were they just going to come?
So that kind of ties into something that I was thinking about, and I wrote about it literally at page 20. Like, very early in the book, because I already started thinking about this because of one line, or one little section. They wrote there, talking about Gwilyn, that he's just a lowly puffler, is how they described him. And this is the first time we get any idea that there's, like, a hierarchy within the dragons. That is never mentioned before. That, you know, any of their roles are more superior than others.
Yeah.
And that was immediately disappointing to me, because I was hoping that dragon politics were cool.
Or not,
you know?
thing, yeah.
That it was like, you know, everybody is equal because every job is important. And,
right.
You know, that kind of a thing. But instead it's like, you know, he was like, oh, I don't want to bother Gadzooks, I'm just a lowly puffler. And I was like, wait a minute, what do you mean? You're important too. Yeah. And I was sort of bummed that dragons seem to have this hierarchy. And I wonder if, because that's sort of how they work, if that ties in with the Fane as well somehow. You know, a dragon that's held in higher regard versus one that's lower down.
I guess you're right, because all the dragons that we've been introduced to have all these fantastical powers, which actually is something I didn't talk about at all. Mm-hmm. What are your thoughts on Golly Gosh?
Oh, God. Okay. Well, the name is awful.
I thought so too.
David sucks in that way. There's so many times where I'm like, David, you are so lame. Like, he's so lame. I love him, but he's so lame.
No, he's pretty lame. Like I said, he's supposed to be like early 20s now, I'm guessing,
mm-hmm.
around
college
22.
Age, yeah.
But to me, he still gives off 16-year-old boy vibes.
I know, sometimes he says stuff, I'm like, dude, come on, man. Yeah, or like 70-year-old man vibes.
Yeah.
Because, like, what is Golly Gosh?
I just thought it was weird. Yeah, and he's, to me, was introduced with the ability to fix theoretically anything and everything, and yet we got nothing from him.
Right, he didn't do anything. And I'm sure that this is a setup because he's going to be very useful later on, but the fact that he didn't cure Bonington from his cancer.
Right.
And it's like, okay, we thought this was going to be like some super cool healing dragon.
Yeah, and does the Fane heal him now? Because Bonington seems to be alive. And
right, yeah, something about the Fane presence in him healed him.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, Golly was pretty disappointing to me.
Yeah, that was disappointing.
Between Graith being the Wishing Dragon, who seems to be, to me, to be the most powerful. And you're right, I guess I never really thought about it. There is kind of a hierarchy, right?
Yeah, like why is a dragon that's only job is to, light fires, or a dragon whose job is to maybe be like security, or like Gruffin, or
be scenty smelly.
Yeah.
Although Gruffin's ability to me is pretty cool. If he's security mode, he can grow 3 times the size.
Oh yeah, learning that was so cool that he's able to do that.
Because I was tripping out. They say that these clay figurines are supposed to be about 10 inches, right? So if you go 3 times the size, that's a 30-inch dragon.
The other thing, though, it did say appear to be 3 times his size. So is he actually 3 times his size, or does he look that way to scare people and to be intimidating?
Like a peacock almost.
Yeah. Because it did say he appears.
Interesting. I never really thought about that. In my mind, just to make it cooler, I was thinking that he grew that big, and then because if you see almost a 3-foot freaking dragon coming at you, I'm running the opposite way, dude. I'm not trying to get around that. Okay, all right. So let's start wrapping this up and get into predictions and wants. Let's go with predictions first. Going into book 4, now that we know that David is gone, Ingvar is gone, we don't know where Thorn is, we don't know what the heck's going on with Guilana. And now we have David's child coming into the world. What do you think is going to happen?
I definitely predict Guilana coming back to try to be involved with the child. I think she always is. I think she's going to want something to do with it. I don't know how she's going to come back because I don't know what's even going on with her really, but it's got to happen. If someone isn't distinctly described as dead, don't expect them to be dead. She's still there. She's still around for sure. So I think she's going to come back. I think she's going to try to have some influence or say over Xana's baby. I hope very much that Xana's baby is a girl. I think that would be cool.
Have you read the back of book 4 yet? No?
I have not.
Do we have the books in here by chance?
No, they're in the next room.
Okay, do you have any other predictions?
Well, that's my main one, because I just feel like there's no way that that's not going to happen. Less of a prediction, more of a want, but I want it to be a prediction, is I want David to come back in some sort of Bergstrom-like thing, because I didn't get enough of him. 3 books was not enough, and especially considering the 3rd one, he wasn't always present.
Yeah. And I feel like he just started growing as a character, too.
Exactly. I just finally started to think he was cool and not lame.
And I would have liked to see... One of the things that I didn't like, too, was that there was no interaction of David and Xana throughout the entire book. No. There was the very beginning where they broke up, and then the very end. And then David died in Xana's arms. And that, to me... Shame on you, Chris. We should have had a little bit more. But, okay, do you have any other wants?
I just want to learn. I just want to learn more. Because this book just left me with more questions than answers.
And honestly, for it to be book 3 in a 7-book series, I feel like that's probably where it's supposed to be, because you want to keep reading on. But I feel the same way. I didn't feel quite satisfied. Okay, so I have 2 questions, one related to the series, one related to just books. The first question is, we've gone through the questions on what your dragon would be, what your dragon's name is. Do you want to do a quick reminder for those who might be listening for the first time?
Sure, yeah. So my dragon, I kind of worked it out. It would sort of be what I like to call a feeler dragon. So instead of like a physical tool like Gadzooks has, she would just sort of have this special quality about her. She would kind of be able to help with intuition and things like that. Her name is Goshenite. So Goshenite is a gemstone that they call the mother of all gemstones because it's able to adapt into others. I sort of imagined that, because I've always had a very strong intuition and kind of like a sixth sense, so her role would kind of be to help enhance that for me.
Almost prophetic.
Yeah.
Okay, so that leads me into the question of what breed of dragon it would be. So in the story, in this series, what I'm gathering is most of these are Western style dragons. For those who don't know, there are different breeds. There's the Eastern dragon, who's more serpent-like. There's the Wyvern, who has 2 legs and then 2 wings. And then obviously the Western dragon, that seems to be the most popular, the most well-known, where there's 4 legs and then 2 wings. So what do you picture your dragon being?
Originally I did picture my dragon being more of a Western dragon, but the more I think about it, I almost think her not having arms and only having wings is sort of symbolic, and I think would be kind of fitting for what she does.
Okay.
So I almost think we might go Wyvern.
I like it. All right. So now I want to ask a question that's kind of not related to the series. What I've been curious on this is you've been so supportive of my journey in doing this. It's been amazing. I can't even tell you. But you read more than just... You don't really read fantasy, is what we've talked about beforehand. And so since you're going through this journey with me, compared to the other books that you read... Are these entertaining enough for you to read? Just period. Like if... Obviously, I'm the one that introduced you to these, but if you had found these on your own, do you think this is something that kids... Obviously, these are geared towards 8 to 12-year-olds. Is this something worth reading? Would you continue without having to? I mean, I'm not forcing your arm, but...
Yeah, no, I definitely would. I mean, if you were to stop doing this and, you to say, I'm not doing the podcast anymore, you don't need to keep reading those books, I would definitely see it through. That's for sure. I'm invested enough to want to know. But I will say you have been a big part of why I'm interested. Because, you getting me involved, and also, I mean, like, the creation of my own dragon gets me excited. I'm a very, like, creative person, so that's really fun to me. Definitely helped. And I would have never picked these books up otherwise. I've never been into fantasy really at all. Like, not even just books, but movies and TV shows too. It's just never been something I've been interested in. But I'm glad that I, did pick them up, because it is really interesting, and it has got me thinking that maybe there is a specific type of fantasy book that I could be into, and that's more of like, the magic with a K that we talk about.
Yeah.
Stuff that's maybe more geared toward that, I think I could actually get into. But, the traditional fantasy of, hobbits and elves and knights and dragons is typically not something I'm interested in. But these books do bring in an aspect of that magic that I am interested in. And so maybe this is kind of a path for me to follow.
More naturalistic. And I do think it helps that it's set in more modern times versus, medieval castles and maidens. So.
Totally.
Awesome. Well, Kaylee, I so much appreciate your help. This journey has been... It's been interesting. I'm coming up on a year. I couldn't have done it without you guys. Thank you. For my fans out there, I know there's not many, but...
Not yet.
Not yet. We'll, next week, be joined by Darian and Lucy from Aragon and Back Again to open up Book 4, so we get 2 banger episodes in a row. I hope you join me next week. Have a safe flight out, and hit no turbulence.